much. I'm thanking the organizers to give me the opportunity to elaborate on the humanitarian aspect of our specialty and to share some of experience with Médecins Sans Frontières. How I joined Médecins Sans Frontières, I was working as a I'm born and educated in Afghanistan. This is the hospital where I'm trained as a general surgeon. And if you see the picture with a little bit more attention, then you will see there is nobody crossing the road. There is only one jeep and other car, but this is because of the war. It was a heavy bombardment and heavy rocket attacks on that day. And normally it was a busy crossing. And the hospital I was working was nearly collapsing. Staff was not available. People were leaving. We had no suture material, no anesthesia material, no X-ray, no electricity like now, and no water supply. Then the situation was like very bad. I can explain. And suddenly MSF showed up and started to support our hospital. Then suddenly we had electricity, a generator, running OT, and we could take care of the war victims. On that time, Doctors Without Borders had this old logo, which was a dispute between some organization, and changed to the new logo that, as you see it here. I was also younger on that time. And the context of Kabul was very heavy war. This is my house. You can see the damage based on rockets and shrapnels, and this was, luckily I'm still alive now. And this is the street going to my house. Behind this blue mosque was my house located, but both sides of the street there were houses, nice houses, but on that time, 92, 93, it was like this. You cannot not find you are going left or right. And this is one of the beautiful palaces of Kabul, and it was turned to right like this. That was the context to give you a taste of in which context MSF is intervening and giving support to people in need. Then this is the definition of MSF also, or Médecins Sans Frontières, that provides assistance to people in distress, victims of man-made disaster, of war, armed conflict, irrespective of their race, religion, of political affiliation. It's founded in 1971 by some French colleagues, doctors and journalists, based on Biafra war. This will take more time if I elaborate more, but maybe later. And it is the winner of Nobel Prize in 1999. The intervention they are doing is mostly in the disaster zones. Could be a tsunami, could be an earthquake, or could be a conflict zone. And most recently, we were involved in the Mediterranean crisis of the refugee that you may have followed in the news. It observes neutrality, impartiality, independence, and the operations are based on medical ethics and right to humanitarian assistance. With the medical ethics, the essential thing is do no harm, and patient autonomy, confidentiality, informed consent, and dignity, which we are respecting overall, but in the context we are working, they are more important to avoid problem for ourselves. Impartiality and neutrality is the most important thing also, because our assistance is based on our own assessment, not related to any government or political powers, irrespective of what I mentioned, religion or gender or political affiliation of the people involved in the conflict. decisions are based on the assessment of the organization where to intervene. And sometimes we have to also do advocacy, which is also another component of the organization, which is one of the foundation of it. When there is extreme act of violence against individuals or groups, access to life-saving medical care is hindered. Medical facilities came under threat or crisis or neglected. Provision of aid is manipulated. They denounce that, and sometimes it end up to close a program or evacuate a team. And we have good example of impact of this advocacy on the AIDS medicine, that we try to do advocacy and to give the cheap price medicine. Accountability, committed to regularly evaluate the effects of the activities. We assume the responsibility for accounting for our actions to our patients and donors. We have 32 offices and 23 associations on all over the world. This with the red ones are the operational centers that they are collaborating with each other to operate all the programs all over the world. They call it operational centers, a kind of umbrella for many countries, many offices. In 2014, that was the activity. Outpatients, about 8 million, and admitted 5 million, and mainly the programs are, as you see, like 60% are in the Africa, and also in the unstable setting. Mainly the war are also concentrated in that region. In the Middle East and in the Americas, they are also present, and in the refugee crisis or other crises also in Europe, they are present. We are involved with all kind of variety of programs that you can imagine, from sleeping sickness to malaria to conflict victims. This is the distribution of the map where MSF is present. Spend a lot of money, but on a good mean. 80% of humanitarian activity, the money we got from the donors, or mainly 80% on the humanitarian purpose, 20% is on the fundraising, and 90% of income are provided by 5.7 million private donors all over the world. This is also important to keep the neutrality and independence of the organization. And now I will say something about what is the link of emergency medicine with the organization, or how it is. Actually, if you go to the history of creation of MSF, it was created based on emergency medicine because there was no access. As I mentioned, it was after Biafra war in Nigeria that some colleagues from ICRC, the French doctors who went with ICRC, when they came back, ICRC had a strict rule of keeping just medical care and no denouncement. And based on this component of advocacy, they say we can denounce also the situation. Then it ended up to, by the foundation of Doctors Without Borders, it was actually access issue, access to health care or to health facility. And more than half of our programs are related to war and violence, man-made disaster. Then when you are with Doctors Without Borders, you have to think of about an insecure environment. You have to have a good coping mechanism with stress. And the sun's bags are an example that we were hoping that the rockets were not coming from this side. if you are lucky, but from behind we were not safe. And this was just protection for the OT, and emergency was behind it. That's in Chad, 5 kilometers from border of Sudan. Sometimes you have different actors in the field. The UN is most of the time present, but don't think that they will provide you more security they can put you more in danger also if they are stationed next to your hospital or base, that they can be attacked. You are also in the crossfire. You can work in a setting like this. This is a camp in Congo Democratic, in the North region, which I have worked years back. You have to have, then in this setting you don't expect to have a shower or 3-time hot meal, then you have a little, you have to suffer a little bit. And good communication skills are needed, because sometimes you are, this is one of the head of tribe that I want to convince him that the patient needs to an operation, and I have to convince him that, but they were at the beginning disagreeing, and he was the chief of the tribe to give the green light. Even acute intervention, you cannot do it, because if there's something happened, then they disagree, then you are in problem. And then you have, this is a tent of the prisoner of wars that I have to visit every 2 days, and you have to have a chat with them and a cup of tea to give access to have access to your patient. You have to be a good team player with the local team and also with the international team. We have people from all over the world. And on the professional side, it's much easier. You do all this stuff daily based on your setting, but the setting is a little bit different. You need coordination skills, patient flow control, triage, ABCD principles you follow always. Stabilize the patient. Who do this, I shouldn't repeat it for you, you know it all. And consult colleagues on time, good communication. If I summarize it, the emergency medicine is the core activity of Médecins Sans Frontières, I can claim. And as I mentioned, that 50% of the programs are related to war and violence, and 50% of the patients are treated in ED department. I have some message based on my experience on war surgery. Then you can have wounds like this and never try to close them in your ED. Even a small wound like this, all war wounds are contaminated, and never suture a war wound initially. Even a small wound like this, always a good debridement is necessary, and leave it open. Otherwise you have consequences like this, infection, and ending up with an amputation. This is ED department in one of the hospitals in Congo, where I have worked all these portations. You have a small bed, you have a skill, how they provide help. You have this kind of transport. If this truck is having a problem, which is not far away, sometimes they are turning around and big accidents, then you have a real mass casualty, and your ED will be very crowded, and you have to control the chaos. Sometimes you have small maneuvers needed to make a child happy and healthy. Sometimes you have strange things happen, that this guy was brought to hospital walking more than half a day just to take this arrow out of his nail, and they managed to break the wooden part, but this part was, but you can help them with an easy intervention under local anesthesia, you can take it away. There was no big damage inside. As emergency physician, you can put a drain with a thorax trauma, easy act, but good effect and save life. This patient I had also, I was asked for a consult in a pediatry, then this was the result. Like nearly 500 cc of pus coming out of a small child. Then You can do a traction for a femur fracture. You don't have any other means, then you put them on the tractions, easier also, local anesthesia. When you are working, you can see also different way of immobilizations like this. It's also a split. If you have basic surgical skills also, you can save 2 lives in 1 act. You can see also different beliefs. This was believed if you wear it, then you are bulletproof. But it was not so effective. I was having everyday casualties on the ED, even wearing of this. I was hanging them on the ED. That's just to change the belief of people also. They call it girgir in Chad. You can see also different means of transport that you are not used to. This is called Chukudu in Congo. This is one of the hospitals I have worked last year in October. You see, this is a kitchen of the hospital, but everybody is cooking for the family and this patient. This is the salle d'urgence emergency department. We have all these ambulances. The way the ambulances are also parked, that you may know, it is always ready to be evacuated also. If something happens, a signal, then you are ready to evacuate. There is no negotiation when there is decision taken to be evacuated based on security. Sometimes I have refused based on medical obligation. I say, while we are here, if injured patients are coming, but it's you have to keep the balance. Sometimes next to your medical work, you can bring some toys to children that they enjoy playing with it, even with an immobilized shoulder, whatever. It is not about all these nasty slides, but also you have nice views sometimes. This is the border of Congo and Congo-Brazzaville, the river Congo, nice sunset. Sometimes you can go to your hospital by horse, and you can leave also, but you may face baboons. This is a group of baboons who are also attacking people on the way to the base. They were mainly targeting the cyclists and some women with children, not accompanied, and they were quite dangerous also. And this is about our emergency medicine linked with Médecins Sans Frontières. If you have questions.